Hi, this is Latasha Martin with Comfort Zone for Women, or owner and founder of Comfort Zone for Women. I just am so excited about this upcoming workshop that we are doing. It is our second workshop, and it's called Living the Balanced Life. So sometimes, or so often, I hear women saying that they're striving for work-life balance. And work-life balance to me is something completely different than living the balanced life. And I'm going to talk to you about the model that we'll be exploring or taking a deeper dive into when you attend our workshop for living the balanced life. But I want to just take a moment now and put you into a frame of mind where I don't know about you, but I'll just talk about my own experiences as a mom of three who works full time, who serves in ministry, as well as has her own business, and then in a few weeks going back to school to acquire my doctorate. So you're probably saying, how in the world does she get to do it all? But one of the examples that I like to use is it's all about a mindset. When you really are intentional about making sure that you're living this balanced life, it is not something that you can just go into each day and be reactive. It is intentional. You have to pay attention. You have to be proactive. You have to plan. You have to be really careful about who it is that you're communicating with. What are the relationships that you have? But before we get into any of that, on which again we'll talk all about that at the workshop, I just wanted to give you the model that we'll be framing this out against. But before we go into the model, again, let me just talk to you about the life of the working mom. And I'm sure if you're not a working mom, you could be a wife, a student, any professional women. There's just things that we think about. But I want us to lay that picture next to a split screen of you and then putting Jesus in your world. And when I say putting Jesus in your world, it's almost like a character. And not that we're making light of Jesus, but I just want us to say, if we're supposed to represent the glory of God, and our life is supposed to show that of one that is balanced because we have our minds focused in on Him, then we should be responding and navigating through life that way. So each morning, when it is time for my kids to get up for school, I make the commitment to myself. I say, Tasha, this time, we're not going to go in the morning screaming around because they all have alarm clocks. I even have the conversation with them. Guys, tomorrow morning, you want to make sure you all set your alarm clock, that you get up, you're ready for school. I don't want to run around here looking like a crazy woman. And then each morning, I fail the test. I just want to be honest. But I do start my day out with God. And then I start to find myself getting a little angst if they're not getting up and getting ready with enough time to get to school on time. And so in my mind, the reason why I respond that way is because as a planner, I think about, oh my goodness, if my kids are late, then they're going to get detention. If they get detention, then they're going to have this reputation because they had detention. And then if they get detention, what's going to happen when they're looking at college? Are they going to see that my kids had detention? And these are all the things I worry about that have no control over me at all. And I laugh because when I'm running around in the morning, even though my heart is in a good place because I'm thinking about what's going to happen, who knows how many years from now, I just want to say that that is not painting the picture of Jesus. I said if Jesus was there, Jesus would not be running around. He would allow them to make these choices for themselves because these are their stories that they need to create for themselves. And again, as a young person, sometimes it's better to learn as a child than it is to learn these lessons of not being responsible when you become an adult. So there's a model that God placed in my heart that I want to share with you, and I'm going to expand on when you come to the workshop about how do you get that balanced life? How do you work smarter, not harder? How do you create a sense where you're succeeding at home as well as in the workplace? So the model that I refer to often is basically something that we all learned as a little child when there was a fire. The firemen would come into the school and they'd say, stop, drop, and roll. But I've changed what that means in terms of when we have to make decisions about living that balanced life, it's all about self-control and it is a mindset. So I use this model because it's something very easy for us to relate to because we remember it as a child. But let me show you how that plays out when you're trying to live the balanced life. So the first step is stop. When I find myself in a stressful situation, even with my children, I now ask myself to just pause for a moment. I just take a moment and I either silently talk to God, or if it's a stressful situation that I'm faced with in the workplace, I'll stop. And the first person that I want to consult is not Facebook. It's not phone a friend. It's not even calling my husband. The first person that I want to turn to is I want to stop, and then I want to drop to my knees, and I want to pray to God to give me wisdom in the choice that I'm making, because every choice that we make in life has a consequence. Whether it is positive or negative, it does have some repercussion. So again, the first thing is to pause yourself, and that is to stop. The second step in the process is, again, to drop. And again, when I say drop, it could be figuratively, just dropping on your knees. In some scenarios, you may need to go to your prayer closet. But in some scenarios, you could be driving down the street. Or again, in those moments when I'm flipping out and yelling at my children, I can stop and I can drop and I can ask for God to give me wisdom in that. And then the most important part of this model that we're going to spend a great deal of time with is the roll. And roll, figuratively speaking, means to roll off. But what I like to tell people is, it's just roll with the situation or let the situation roll off your back. Because sometimes we react and respond to scenarios that are so important, that are so stressful. Again, if I go back to the story where I'm talking about all the steps that I'm putting in place because of a choice that my children are making about not getting up in the morning, it's in the bigger scheme of things, in the bigger picture of things, how important is that going to be as we think 10 years from now? And in some of the choices that we may fly off the handle for, or get stressed out about, or are not allowed to have that balanced life in, if you think about even a day from now, even an hour from that moment, how important will that be? But it is important on how we respond. So if we don't take those first two steps, which is stop, if that means to just have that awkward silence and to literally just stop talking and take a moment to then drop, and that is to hear from God, because again, He knows our name, He knows our voice, He knows us better than we know ourselves. And then to ask ourselves, how can I roll away from this situation? How do I want to roll? What choices am I going to make that could impact what future steps or future consequences can have if I don't take the time to really reflect on how important is this decision that I'm making right now? So again, I just wanted to introduce to you the model that we're going to expand on when you come to the workshop about living that balanced life and what does that look like. I just want to close with one last story. If you would have met me 1 year ago, or even a couple of years ago, there's been some things that I've shared. At my workshop last year, my journey was more about vulnerability and understanding that not being vulnerable to relationships was really causing some serious issues in my life, whether it was relationships that I was or was not having with individuals. And remember that God made us to be relationship people, with those, of course, from which we're evenly yoked. And that is a spiritual perspective that, again, we'll talk about more in the workshop. And then the second piece was being vulnerable to people that I love. And what being vulnerable did for me, for my relationship, for my relationship with my husband, more importantly, my relationship with God, trusting Him with my all in all. And that was about a couple of years ago. And I talked about that at the workshop last year, praying on purpose to ignite your passion. Then this year, it was about activating that balance. So once I became vulnerable, I then had to go into a different state of mind because there were some physical things that I wanted to change. And so a year ago, this time, I was much bigger. I was less healthy. I was doing a lot of things, but I wouldn't say you would look at me and say, hey, that lady's representing Jesus because she's balanced. She does a lot of things, but she seems to keep it under wraps, and she's not stressed out or running around like a chicken with her head cut off. That's just not how she shows up. But if you were to see me today, I am a changed woman. I'm a changed woman because God has given me the wisdom to understand that it is about balance. And so when you want to demonstrate those characteristics of what Jesus would show up as, I'm not saying that I'm perfect. Again, I know that I have to die daily. I have to start my day with God every moment so that I can truly live this balanced life. And be very careful about how does that show up. And activating that balance for me has allowed me to really put some things in perspective. My health is better. I think this year when I went to the doctor, this is the first time I was running to all my doctors because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get a good report. And you know what I did? I was able to then show that my temple, which is a reflection of my relationship with God, was just in a place that it allowed me to witness to people and to show them if they activate balance, meaning following God's word, and that's what balance looks like. I just want to share that with you because it truly has been a blessing to me. So until we see each other at the workshop, again, the information on how you can get a ticket or register for the event is actually on the screen right now. And you can activate that link and join me, or you can give us a call and we can tell you some more details about what you'll be experiencing on that day. But I tell you, it will be a day that you don't want to miss out on. You will go to this workshop and you will be inspired to do things and to try things that you have never tried before. Again, through this journey of just re-engineering my physical health, just so many great things have come out of that. I know I like to kid sometimes. My husband tells me that we've been married for 17 years, but now he has a new wife, and I'm excited about that. And it's not the only reason I did it, but it's great to have a husband that's just so excited about that. It's great to have children that I can now run around with or run with side by side, and I'm not, out of breath. So living that balanced life is truly about taking care of your mind, taking care of your body, and taking care of your soul. And I'm excited to share all of those tips with you. So I look forward to seeing you there at Living Your Balanced Life Workshop on March 29th. See you then. And until we meet, be blessed, be bold, and be beautiful. Bye.